Alrighty. Hi. Alrighty, it's me. Gordata7, your boy. And I had just gone live. So, again, 'tis what it is. Hope you're all having a good afternoon or whatever. Let's get started. What I'm doing is an art style study, so it's not going to be as pretty as my other speed paints or whatever, because what my goal is to do is to dissect it. Lab coat in hand. So, this is the first art style that I am seeing, but I don't like to just do one art style, I like to actually just get a good trend. If Clip Studio allows that. Okay. So, right here, this is the art styles that I use as a selection to blend. But I also realize that this may not be the best. But what I'm seeing here is that this one right here, is a more blend pen right here. This actually has less texturing. What they're using is watercolor edges from what I can tell. They have an emphasis on thin lines, so let me just type it out. Thank God I had my shortcuts in hand. Alrighty then, boys. Let's see if that will be big enough. I think that'll be a big enough thing. Screw it, Trojan Pro it is. Alright. Right here. There's an emphasis on flat color. There's... Of course I use. It was something so stupid. Fun fact, this font was used in Passion of the Christ, so I like to use it just for fun. There's an emphasis on flat colors that are namely pastel. Yes, you can have bright vibrancy, but that isn't the main point. There's also watercolor edge, which is a way of painting. Holy shit. Oh, sure thing, Dad. Just got a good offer from him. Okay. So, once watercolor edge is accounted for, because this is an important thing. Today's just been a very interesting day. So, let's just get that accounted for. Okay. There's watercolor edge right here. That stuff you see right here on the clothing, that is not normal. That is normally used for flex. The texturing right here is watercolor edges, and I wouldn't be too surprised if it's an overlay. So, you got that. Then sketchy lines. Yes, there's not a lot of commitment behind the sketches or the line art. I've seen some people do speed paints that are like insane. Like the kind of insanity you just gotta wonder. Like, for God's sake, they use something like this as their sketch brush. Like, I've seen it happen where they just start going all over the place with that. Yeah. Another thing they like to do is to have implication, as I call it in art. What's implication, you wonder? Well, that's the fun part. With art like this... Oh my god. Am I paused? I am not paused, am I? Of course I am. Sometimes my programs like to screw me over in a special way that I cannot comprehend. So, back at it. So, this big thing is the devil's in the details, they say. Well, when you look at the hair right here, there's a gradient over it. All of the stuff you see is actually just textured. That's what actually adds depth. I've done the same thing before in some of my paintings. So, with that accounted for, we have this right here. And this is where the other stuff comes in. This is where I'm going to analyze it a bit further. So, this is by an artist named Blue Biscuit, I think. I put the credit on my TikTok, so I'll just put it in here for y'all because you need to follow them. They are really good and they have a YouTube channel. So right here is their Twitter handle. Go follow them. Shout out to Blue Biscuit for even inspiring this nonsense. Alright. Blue Biscuit's art style, from what I can tell, is very big on pastels. Like there's a lot of commitment to the sketches. Best way I can describe it is if I decided to just do this over here, I could easily trace the anatomy. They use thin lines specifically, and I've seen how they sketch. I, in fact, downloaded their brushes for this occasion. They have a specific type of brush called a saw brush, and I will teach you a cool trick too, that I just learned. So, right here, this is where the head is the body right here. Emphasis on bodies for the characters they want to have as adorable, and emphasis on big hands, as I can see. This person is amazing at what they do and has a wonderful voice, but again, the structural integrity of their bodies for the characters are just small body, big head, and big, round, beautiful eyes, and kind of like a cat is the best way to describe it, with their proportions. The mouths are normally under detailed and just everything's adorable. That's the crux of this kind of art style. The goal isn't to be badass like what I do with my art, is the best way to describe it. When I do my art and when I see edgy stuff, I'm just like, yo, that looks so sick. You know? So, again, it's not complete science, but it's still interesting. So, having the head right here with the body being like this, do a little bit this. What I'm doing here isn't really tracing, but more of redlining, which is done in the industry. This stuff is used for art studies all the time and constantly. So probably the feet are underdeveloped right here because it doesn't need to be accounted for. And again, the goal isn't to really have perfect anatomy, but actually just really interesting character designs. So, with that said, how could you paint like this? Well, that's where the fun part is. With I'm gonna eyeball the colors, and I think actually I know. The person started with the normally brownish color palette right here for their character. They use everything for their line art right here. This is probably the base color for the hair. Then they just decided to do this. This for the oranges, and how you paint hair is normally you have strands. Everything must have a purpose behind it. There is intent. And they normally paint over the sketches. They do. They don't have a proper line art as much as many people would think, but they just continually layer on it. So one way to describe it is I start off with a strand of hair like this. And then instead of doing from the light source to the shadows, they actually start doing this. And start baking the shadows into the light source. Once they got that part down, they add a little bit of flavoring of color right here. Or just a little bit darker, but not too dark, actually. And this is where the shadows would come in. So, like, for instance, the light source is coming here, and the shadows are coming down here. So having this clipped on would be like, you know. And then you work around with the painting and then have everything just kind of be like this. And then you work your way up through the light sources. With a little trick on the side. The pink actually becomes the ambient occlusion, thus making the hair color pretty as hell. They also have a lot of habits of using blue as light and stuff, so that would be the main color of the hair. It doesn't have to be correct, but that is what they normally do. Same principle with the clothing and the skin. They normally start off with a pale his dead look of a character with the skin very much pale right here, and then they use a filter. So like right here, they actually are using dark blues and purple was for coloring. The skin actually becomes this way, and then you work your way around it. The brush isn't purely opaque, meaning it is closer to transparent. And using a bit of orange right here to add it. Again, this is a process and I'm eyeballing it, but I'm not color picking. So, like, there's a hue of pink because of the dress. And I know for certain they actually used just this area and had a blending mode over it. So that's what I'll do. Use a purple right here, or that's pretty much saturated bit with a little bit of blue in this area. Then, and have a bit of pink at the top right here. Clip it, and then multiply. Lower the opacity, and you practically got the same coloring. The main seller for these people are color theory and watercolor edge behind the brushes. So this isn't the only brush that is used. The Unlay brush needs to have watercolor activation right here. And this is actually what creates the watercolor edge right here. See? That's actually what makes or breaks it. It allows the spread of like the brush itself. Watercolor edge is the selling point. And I wouldn't be too surprised if you wanted to add a little bit of a blur tool right here to make it feel more pretty and naturalistic. And then, boom. That is how you could paint skin. Again, this is for this art style specifically. So what I've learned here is that this person likes to have thin line art with a heavy emphasis on marker art, like painting it, making it a very painterly style. And it takes a long time for them to do it. Also, a good chunk of their line art right here is actually closer to gray, so again, next one is going to be important. This one is what fascinates me the most. This is from an artist. Let me just import the image. Whose name is Rui underscore 10 on Twitter. Their art is pretty good. I don't know if they go by she or they, but either way, it's impressive, it's beautiful. I found all these images off of Pinterest, and before people say shit, you can actually credit the artist on Pinterest now. There is no excuses anymore to not credit the artist on Pinterest. Anyways, this art style has thin line art that's almost painted in. So, like, I can see where it's starting off. I can see what they did here. It's so explicit. So, with the same brush, I'm gonna do it too. This, you need to have a low opacity, almost transparent brush here, or that's very thin. And they also use very big canvases, so like right here. Again, what I'm doing is just showing off how they could do it. The chin and the shadow areas will have more thickness than the areas that have less detail. So right here has thickness, but it's not completely uniform. Having a level of thinness right here, or like with, pen pressure, will help you out a lot more. The goal isn't to be as thick as possible, but to know where to place your line thickness. I wouldn't be too surprised if the ear's right here, Here, since the chin will stop around here. So this is where the skull probably would be. Again, anatomy ain't the selling point, it is more about stylization. In Japan, they actually have the, like, triangle face to make it emulate a cat. The nose is non-existent, but that's where the nose would be. The eyes start here, and they're big and doll-like, and they're alien and beautiful. But it just is pretty much a glorified circle right here. That's how big the eyes would be. Again, that's just how it'd be. Everything's going with a purpose. So you get something like, oh, the Wings Club with the dolls. Doll anatomy. So that's just how it'd be. Can't judge though. So with that in tow, the real selling point then would be the hair. They actually probably would just sketch out the hair and be like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. And that's the beauty of art. You don't know what you're doing half the time. You just have these big chunks and you normally have in. And that's how you do it with painting. You just have these big chunks. And like Ethan Becker would do, there would be just an area with like all triangles. So again, having this, and just have where the hair starts right here would be the most important aspect. Everything else can be parted down. That's how I actually had to do my VTuber. So the hair actually just comes into a bob. Right there. See? It's all just parts. The hair comes into parts. Like, just right there. Every single thing right here, also big chunks. Breaking down the big chunks is how you're gonna get a good painting. This is just basic painting 101. And also look at the lack of detail here. The painting itself has no detail practically right here, and right here, and even a little bit right here. The face is all but flat colors. There's everything right here, and even here. No detail or shading whatsoever comparatively to the hair, the boobas, the little pendant, and also the little ear things right here. The eyes right here have the most detail out of everything. Now for the color picking. See, the coloring, from what I can tell, starts off flat, like real flat color. So like I wouldn't be too surprised if it was starting off pale right here and have a little bit of a pinkish undertone. So start this right here. Work your way up into here. This would be the skin color mainly. Because again, this would be the main skin color, which is closer to white from what I can tell. So again, the darkest aspect would be right around here. Because that's how the skin tone is. Then you got this area right around here. That is almost pure white, by the way. This area will be a good chunk of the face that matters. It's almost translucent, so being able to have this area, same color right here. You paint over the sketch. And this is where the hair comes in. So the hair looks like candy cane is the best way to describe it. And from what I can tell, which again, I'm just gonna eyeball it because that's how you actually get good at color theory, kiddos. Just draw a triangle right here. We're gonna do that. Then you work your way up. Alrighty then. So I see. Right there. Right there. Far away, it looks a lot better, if anything. Sometimes you just gotta say fuck it. Fun fact, they're using a little bit of gray. For skin, it's probably something closer to here. How do you paint a face like this? Simple. Face has to be like here. Mind you, I'm doing a one layer painting style and they use like multiple clipping layers. the blush under the eyes. Right there. Now that we got that nightmare out of the way, let's do one final thing that's a lot easier to break down. Because this one is stupidly easy. Thank God. See, unlike its contemporaries, the Miku one by, this person right here, Sesame.seed on Instagram, is stupidly easy to break down and reconstruct. Oh my god. Okay. Because the facial structure is stupidly simple. Like right here. Like, oh my god. It's a breath of fresh air. So, right here is where the anatomy is. They are really good at hands. I'll give them that. Do a simple head right here. Basically, the anatomy is cutesy and all that crap. Okay. This is where it separates the men from the boys. So, there are only 5 colors to work with on the hair. This must have been a pastel challenge, because their other art also has the same thing. So I know how they did this, and I can see it. It is wonderful compared to the shit show that was the prior art piece that I had to work with. Alrighty. So, they use a baseline of dullish blue pastel. Just straight out the gate. Just, holy shit. It is so beautiful to work within this nightmare. Everything with the hair is a freaking triangle. And since they have a pastel aesthetic, that means everything they're doing right now has a bit of a watercolor edge that I just have to make sure is big enough. Right here. And then they do a little bit of greenish stuff right here. It is awesome because what they're doing here is deceptively simple but is effective. They have a little bit of the watercolor edge still going. Everything you see with hairstyle like this is a triangle, which is so nice. This is a good art style to practice with if you're just beginning on this crap. Alright, cool. They also make sure to keep within the range of here as a color space. And because of watercolor edge, you actually have to be decisive in how you do the hair. So that's how you do it. This is how you do the bullshit. With the skin, it's even better because the skin is only 2-toned instead of 5-toned like the other P. So, in general, you're gonna have a more pinkish aesthetic going on. I could... Let's see. Right here, I was absolutely on the money pretty much. They like to do very light pastels. So, have a baseline of this instead of the dark thing that you had to work your way around. This will be like the highlight for the nose, which is pretty much on the money. Is that green? Oh, they're using a filter. Motherfucker. Alright. They're using reddish. They're using a reddish pastel color. Okay. Probably even a little bit purplish. How do you do the neck? Right here. And the best part, it's watercolor edge. Again, this is me doing a one layer painting, so what would actually be happening instead would just be something like this with the clipping layer. And then multiply the batch. Or using a yellowish thing. Again, multiplies help so much. And because of the way the pink is, it normally made it look yellow with the orange. That is brilliant. I fucking hate you, but I love you, artist. Alright, let's cut through the crap. We have these ideas pointed out. Okay. And this motherfucker had the audacity to be that good at art. So, let's get this done and over with. I'm using Satoru Gojo because I hate myself. I think anyone who likes to color this way kind of low-key has a flavor of mental illness, and I know it's true. Because every single person I know that colors like this has a few skeletons in their closet. Not gonna lie, and I love them. But holy shit, some of y'all need therapy. No shade, just genuine love. Being like, are y'all good? No? You ain't good? Okay. Well, either way, what are you gonna do in this world? Art expensive. If that fuck. Therapy. He cheap. Therapy expensive as fuck. Okay. Sorry, credit. You gotta die. Okay. I have this as an artboard. It's time to suffer with Satoru. I'll have to be quick here. Normally these types of art pieces take like 3 hours. Hey, bun! Alrighty, I see what they're doing here with the JJK. Okay. Use this as a frame of reference. Decrease size. Keep this as a roll over here. These people also like to do 3/4 angles with no background whatsoever. Fucking ever. They are allergic to background art, normally. Because that actually would be very terrifying. They use props well. They can draw it. Unlike me. And they're good at abstraction. So, it's time to waifu Satoru Gojo, boys. It's time to make Satoru Gojo prettier than he already is. Okay, let's... Okay, I have this as the art advice board I'll be referring back to occasionally. Okay. Satoru Gojo. No, I'm actually very good at background art. I am not allergic to it. So I'm just going to be a little bit lazy and do a redraw. Like some kind of simplistic art style. Just get a reference. Thank you, Tumblr. Thank you, my reference folder. Thank you for giving me the deets I needed for posing. So, looking through it. Just a sec. How are y'all doing on this fine Wednesday? Okay. That's a perfect reference. Yeah? Okay, I have been muted this whole time, like a complete dingus dongus. I don't know for how long, though. So, shit! Yeah, my mic's on now. I thought it was dead. I am so sorry. Opinions on JJK. I'ma say it, the anime's overrated a bit. The anime tries a lot of things. It is a really good anime, but the fandom really out here thinking they are the first to understand the pain and suffering of an evil system. If Chainsaw Man says fuck the system, then JJK is more of a horror story. If you're into like existential horror where the protagonist probably ain't gonna have a happy ending at all because the first episode and chapter establishes they're gonna die young, then I'm pretty sure you'll like it. Uh, Best way to describe it, in my book, is comparing it to Chainsaw Man. But unlike Chainsaw Man, where Denji lives and chooses to live, I do not think Itadori's gonna choose to live. So if you want sad, sad existential comedy in a horror manga versus existential horror in a comedy manga, then have fun. God, I hope my mic's working now. Shit, I've been talking. No, I was not. My mic was gone for a few hours. Shit, I was just explaining stuff. No. Okay. So this is where my help, my personal help comes in. Satoru Gojo. God kill me. I haven't colored like this in years, so this is gonna be fun. What, am I silent again? Please, for the love of God, kill me if I am. What did they do to my boy? I did the thing to the boy. I am sorry, God. Man, I made him look 12. That is not good. He is in his 20s. I'll just say teenage Satoru Gojo. How about that? Teenage Satoru Gojo. There. Like, there. How about that, kiddos? Shit, I gotta sneeze for a sec. Alrighty, we're back in business. Hope you feel better, by the way, Lucky Bun. Yeah, I'm glad you're doing alright enough to hang. I like you. Right there. That's fair. What did the fandom do now, Lucky Bun? What did they do now this time around? You can tell me in DMs, but like, at this point, nothing's sacred in that fandom, so again, being the better person doesn't even matter in this day and age anymore. All that matters is clickbait. Which sucks, but I've given up on any goodwill for that fan base. I've given up a lot of goodwill. All I'm there for is the Eldritch Gems AU and, like, the Falsification AU, and that is it. Everyone else can kick rocks. I'm a bad friend. Is it because you're not getting much retention compared to other AU creators? Don't worry. Most AUs are dying off, and very quickly, too. I think there was a resurgence because Stevie Universe only Stevie Universe actually just came out a decade ago, which is probably why the fandom was going crazy for a bit, and there was like a idea of a resurgence. But like Gravity Falls, come on, no, it ain't coming back. It's the best way to say it. The fandom ain't ever gonna go back to its glory days if it ever had any, and many people actually deeply resent Steve Universe for obvious reasons and unobvious reasons. If anything, make the AU for fun, but don't expect like any engagement whatsoever. Or like expect the same kind of engagement you would give someone who has like a CIA AU of Inside Job. So pretty much nothing. Like, no one gives a fuck about SU, and I'm kind of grateful about that right now, given everything. It allowed me to move on to bigger, sadder things. Personally, I think it came in at the worst time, too, comparatively. Like, there was a big, big blow up. You could have had, like, multiple big creators following you immediately. 2019 and 2020 were the prime time to be an SUAU creator. You just missed the bus by a few years, and that's why. But again, that's probably a blessing in disguise because of less hurt feelings overall. So, pro tip, kiddos, don't ever get into fandom. It's just a bad idea. There ain't a community, it's just consumerism as a hobby. And people think it's more than that because they make friends with said hobby when it's not a community in the slightest. It is just a place to talk about your blorbos, and that's how it should be. You don't talk about the blorbos. You say a hot take too much. You're probably gonna get the axe. I practically abandoned that AU of repression. I mean, I want to get back into it. It calls to me occasionally, but you know, like a ghostly spouse, you really need to ignore that spouse because otherwise you're gonna get hurt again. It's like, it's one of those stupid calls. You just don't do it because it's a bad idea. It's not worth your time, mental health, or effort to get invested ever again. So treat that fandom like a bad ex. Because that's what they're mainly made of. And I will not further elaborate. Trust me, when you get to my age, and I also have a lot of life stuff happening, you just kind of stop caring about whose feelings are hurt with the fandom and be like, you ain't worth my time! And I ain't worth yours, so let's be adults and move on. What do you guys think so far? What do you guys think of Gojo here? Good sketch? Yeah, this is really outside of my wheelhouse. I was talking to the kiddo in the chat, not just you, bud. Hello. Hey, I'm just doing an art style study with Satoru Gojo. Yes, he looks 12. I am sorry, but it's just based off the art style I'm studying this time around. Which is always a weird moment. This is the art styles I'm basing it off of. So, right here. Probably should just put that here. Mm-hmm. Just drawing and chilling. Now for the fun part, to actually paint the boy. Shit. I better get ready though. I gotta go soon, like very soon. So I gotta go get stuff done. But I'll be finishing up this bad boy. Hey, later. Well, I'll see y'all around. Thank you for stopping on by. I gotta get shit done. See ya.